everyone to today's class. You're welcome, and then I want to welcome everyone once again. The last time we did some few things and I gave you an assignment. So if you are here with me, you give me a thumbs up and let's see. If you're here with me, give me a thumbs up for me to know that you are here with us. Today's class, as I put on our topic or on my notice that you received, we are going to treat economic system, in fact the beginning of it. So we are not going to go so much into details, but it's going to be the introduction part of it, right? I don't want us to recap last week, but let me mention some few things we did last week. And last week, which was the last class, we discussed some of the economic tools, and then we did the economic analysis, and then we said economic tools are the things that we use, the models, the techniques that we use. And I mentioned some of the tools as words, as tables, as graphs, etc., etc. And then I gave some examples with some tables that I mentioned. Aside that, we also discussed some terms like wants, means, resources, choice, scale of preference, and then we also did the opportunity cost. I remember saying that you should go and draw your own scale of preference. So if you have drawn your scale of preference, you can let me know in the chat that you have done yours. I said you should do it and probably paste it on your wall. So if you have done yours, please let me know that you have done it. Okay. So that is what we did the last time. Today we're going to focus on economic system, just the introduction of it. Okay, it's a very broad topic, but we are going to do the surface of it for you to have just a preamble for you to know something about it before we dive deeper. So at this level, we want to know what we mean by economic system. If you have heard what economic system is before, or you know, or you have an idea about it, you can type it for me to know what you think economic system is. So I want to go straight away to define what we mean by economic system. Economic system, right, more or less refers to any arrangement or any mechanism or any setup or any organization that we have done in order to be able to know production, what to produce, consume, and then distribute. Okay, let me do it this way. That economic system is any arrangement or organization that is put in place to take care of production, distribution, and consumptions of goods and services in a community or in a country, basically in a country. So if you look at economic system, you may think that this one to what is important is also just as important as the things you have learned so far. But I'm making a comment that we will not go so much into details with this at this level. Because when we go higher, right, you will go so much deeper into details. I even have some deeper that I have done with your seniors, right? Some deeper things I've done on economic system that is already on the channel. So those who have not subscribed, please subscribe. Okay. Subscribe for me, and then if you are here, you give me a thumbs up too. Okay, so let's see what we mean by economic system. Like this, I have said that it's an arrangement, or it's a setup, or it's a mechanism, or it's how we organize production, distribution, and consumption of goods and services in a society or in a country. What do we mean by this? Let's take, for instance, you get to your home, right? In your various homes, you have your parents there or your guardians, and then you need something. For instance, you need food to eat, and you don't get. You go to the kitchen or you open the fridge, there is no food. You ask mommy, that there's no food, and she points you to daddy. And daddy also says that go back to your mother and ask her for the food. Now you're confused. Then you see them, they be arguing among themselves. Are you not supposed to provide the food? Then they start arguing. So you sit down and watch the show that you're having. And then the next time you want soap to bath with, you are wondering where the soap comes from. You go to the bathhouse, there's no soap in the soap dish. You ask again, and then that becomes another show for you to watch because mommy and daddy start arguing who's supposed to do this. I'm sure the easiest way is that both mommy and daddy sit down and plan who is supposed to bring soap, who's supposed to go buy the soap for the house. Or daddy will say, okay, I'll bring money, I'll give the money to the daddy will say, I'll money. When daddy gives the money to mommy goes to buy the soap. Or mommy will say, okay, I'll make sure that there's food around. So in that case, it will be easier for you if you need is that this arrangement helps more or less to grant peace, right, in either a home, in a country, in nations. So most people that do not really take this serious, you see that in their countries they have so many problems. Some places they have wars, they have chaos, there are so many things because they don't take economic system seriously. So assuming the situation, I use your home as an example. If you know that in case there's no food, mommy is the one you should ask. If there's no soup, probably you should ask this person. If there's fees are not paid, who do you ask? Is it daddy or mommy? You want your provision, who should you ask? Once those things are settled, you don't have a problem. It will be easier for you, the child, right, to know who to ask when you need what. But if you don't ask them, I'm trying to shift my camera a little bit. So if you don't have this arrangements made, right, what will happen is that you will see that every day the two of them are fighting. Because are you not supposed to put your food down? I'm not supposed to do this. But the easiest way is for them to have an arrangement, a mechanism, or a more or less a plan for the house that the the one who is in charge of bringing food is mommy or is daddy, or the one who is in charge of doing this is that. When we do it that way, it means that everything is in order, right? So this is what we mean by economic system. Since we can do this in a house or in a society or in a community to have peace of mind, the same thing must be done in a country. So in a country, you cannot wake up and say, for instance, let's assume you wake up and you want to go to the feast, and then if you ask for roads, the government will say, maybe the president will say that I am not in charge of roads, don't ask me of roads. You go and ask for hospitals to be built, they complain that they are not in charge. It's because things are not put down for them to say that you are in charge of this or that. So that arrangement, that is more or less like sharing duties. Let me use this for instance. If you are in your classrooms, and then you are supposed to tidy up the place, to sweep, to clean up, depending on which school you are. If you are in government schools, you are normally supposed to do you're tidying up yourself. So if they don't have an arrangement that today these people are arranging the class or are sweeping or in charge of taking care of the class, and then tomorrow these people are doing that, what will happen is that you have the same people doing the same thing over and over again. If they get tired, they will not do it again. It becomes a problem in the class. People say they will not sweep anymore. You enter the classroom, it is very messy because they've not planned who should do what at what time. So that is basically what the economic system, when we refer this one to a society or a country, you see that they have been planned on who should do this or that. So what should we produce? Who should produce it? How should we produce? How do we distribute? All these things are done. That arrangement, that makes sure that we have orderliness in a country, we call economic system. I hope at this point I've made it is a little clear. If it's not clear, you let me know. So if you are here, give me your thumbs up. I'm seeing some people here, they have not gotten my thumbs up. Please give me a thumbs up. Okay, and to those who have not subscribed, please kindly subscribe, okay, and to help my channel. I'm also helping you, I'm sure, right? Okay, so that's what we mean by economic system. So I'm sure it's very simple for you to remember. That is a mechanism or an arrangement that's able to specify what to production, distribution, and then consumption. Okay, now let's see some types of economic system that we have. Basically, we have three types of economic system. We have three types. We have the capitalism, we have the socialism, and then we have the mixed economy. If you know another name for the capitalist economic system, please write it down in the chat for me to see. So I want to know what other name. So we are picking the first one, capitalist economic system. Capitalism, we are even end up giving the other name, one other name, but there are more. So I want another name for the capitalism or the capitalist economic system. If you know, please type it for me to see that you know. I want you to be active in the class. So what we mean by, so as I'm teaching, please type the capitalist economic system for me to see. If you have another name or you know another name for it, type it for me to see. Okay, so capitalist economic system, right? In this system, if you see, I'm seeing people, we are not giving them a thumbs. Please give me the thumbs up. Give me a thumbs up. I need it. So if we take the capitalist economic system, which is also known as capitalism, and it has other names, what we mean by capitalist economic system is that it is that arrangement that I said we arrange who does this. In this situation, most of the resources, which we know already, we know what resources are. I told you I'll be using those terms. That's why I define them. Forgive me about how my voice look like. I kind of went to class and I think the pressure on the voice is making me feel like if they have lost my voice. So please pardon me on how my voice sounds like. So capital economic system, right, is the economic system in which all the resources, so resources we use to produce in the country, they are owned, and then they are controlled by private individuals. I mean, most of them are owned and controlled by private individuals. What this means is that you have a country, and all the things that are in the country, not all, almost all things that are in the country are owned and controlled by private people. So you see so many private things around: private schools, private hospitals, private transport system, private airports. Most of them owned by the private individual. What this means is that if they want to produce, those who decide what to produce are the private people. Those who decide how to distribute are samely the private people. And at this point, their motive, if you are an individual and you are producing, what will be your motive? Why will you go and produce something to sell? For to gain what? I want you to tell me. What do you think when you produce, right? You want to produce something and sell. What will be your motive? Is it to make profits or to give it to people? Think about their welfare. So I want to know that answer. In this privately owned system, which is known as the capitalist economic system, the resources are owned and controlled by the private individuals, and their main aim is what? To make profit. So we use these three. There's a criteria we use to know. One, we want to find out who owns the resources, who control the resources to decide what do you produce in the country, how do you produce, how to distribute, who takes those decisions. And then we also want to know the motive. So while stating this economic system, I'm going to be addressing these three criteria. These three questions. Number one, we want to find out what to produce, how to produce, how to distribute. These decisions are taken in the capitalist economic system by the private individuals, because after all, they own the resources. That's why I said who owns the resources? The private individual. When private people are doing things, their main aim is to make what? Profit. So this is the simple thing, simplest way I can say capitalist economic system is. So let's see. Remember, I'm saying that most of the resources, I can't say all of them are owned by the private individual. For instance, if you have every school in a country owned by private individuals, it means it to be a cash card. If you can pay, you attend. If you cannot pay, you cannot attend. Some people will suffer because if you cannot pay, you cannot attend school. The same way, if you cannot pay for the hospital, you can't attend hospital because everything is owned by the individual. But when we talk about capitalist economic system, it doesn't mean everything is owned by private individual. Most of them are owned by private individual. So you have some things like the police. Can you imagine the police is owned by private individual? It means that if you don't have money, you can't get security, you can't get police. If you don't have money, for instance, let's take the road that the cars will drive on. If you should belong to a private individual, I'm sure every party will have a toll booth where they collect money, because their main aim for setting up the road, fixing that road, is to make profit. It's not thinking about you that the road is not good, so I'm fixing it for you. It's only government that do that. So in this point, we want to say that no matter how the economic system is, we're going to have the government doing something. It doesn't mean everything is owned by the private individual. Some things are owned by the private individual, but others, few of them are owned by what? The state. So like the police, you still have the police, you still have the judiciary, law. You have a case and you go to the law court. The court belongs to the private individual. People are in trouble because you cannot pay, you won't get justice. But because of those things, you have the government doing something small in that economy. Okay. And let's see something like health. If health is going to be left in the hands of only a private individual, it means only the rich can get to the hospitals. If you cannot afford the hospital, you won't go. Those are some of the things that you see the government doing, even though everything belongs to a private individual. It doesn't mean everything. Some things are left for the government to do. At this point, if you have any question, you can type it in the chat session for me down there for me to see. Okay. So aside that, let's move to the socialist economic system. Socialist. So the first question I ask is another name for capitalist economic system. So if you watch this video, you are watching, you type another name for capitalist economic system is, and let me know. Okay. So in this case, you are moving to socialist economic system, also known as socialism. The first one was capitalism. This one is known as socialism. So what do we mean by socialism? Right? It's just the direct opposite of capitalism. If in capitalism, most of the resources are owned by the private individuals, then in socialism, most of the resources are owned by who? The government. So most of the resources are owned. Remember, we are defining this, we are using these three questions, answer these three questions. Who owns the resources? Who decides what to produce? And so decision making. The last one is going to be the motive. So the who owns the resources in the social economic system is the government. So most of the resources are owned by the government, right? And then we want to find out also, most of them are owned by the government. Means what to produce, how to produce, where to produce, how to distribute, what to consume in that economy. Obviously, it's going to be who? The government. If you are here, please give me a thumbs up. And I want to see you chat with me in the comment section. Okay. So aside that, you want to find out if the government is doing things. Is it for profit or is for the welfare of the people in the country? Obviously, if the government is doing something, it's going to be the welfare of the people. Mostly, as you